this is Carla, and welcome back to the studio. And happy Mother's Day to all the mommies out there, including those mommies that have fur babies. We're including all of you. So, welcome. This is my special holiday video for this day. It is coming to you a little bit later in the day, but hey, it's Mommy's Day, and being a mommy, hey, I need my day too. So, but I still wanted to celebrate by doing this video. So welcome. Um, One thing that I do want to make mention before I go any further, because again, I find that I do my Friday videos and I seem to forget to mention like important tidbit information and all that. So 2 weeks ago, not this past Friday, but the Friday before, I had done a kind of live because I had gone out of town and I wasn't able to do that Friday night actually do it live. I had to pre-record it. And I neglected to make mention that, okay, our new catalog had gone live. I did say that, but I never mentioned about the joining special that was currently going on and the extra little added things that, you can get in your starter kit. Now, I did mention it in this past Friday Night Live. So if you want any more information about that, you can go back to the Friday Night Live that I did back on Friday, May 10th of 2024. It's a joining special that goes throughout the whole month of May. So go ahead and watch near the beginning of that video. And if you have any questions, my contact info is in the description of this video. Feel free to reach out to me and I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So the one thing that then I forgot to make mention with that Friday Night Live was that, okay, this coming Friday, so that will be May 17th. So it turns out that for that video, that will actually be my video number 100. So from all the pre-records to the lives to the one short that I've done, all combined, Friday Night Live's video will be video number 100. So I'm still working on what product I'll be using for that live, but I'm also working on some kind of special, I don't know, like promotion, gift item, something to mark, that special occasion of filming 100 videos. So this video will be number 98. And then this coming Thursday will be my Throwback Thursday. That makes video number 99. And then Friday Night Live on March 17th will be the 100th. So stay tuned and, come by and watch the live, because maybe my promotion may be for those that are there watching the live, or maybe even you've come back and watched the replay, because I understand and I get that some people may not be able to watch it at the time it goes live. So stay tuned. I'm still in thinking about what I'm going to do. So again, welcome. And so the projects that we're going to work with tonight, the projects that we are going to be creating tonight are going to feature a lot of stamp sets. Actually, I got 5 stamp sets that I'm using, all that are retired, all that are going to have a Mother's Day theme to them. So again, these cards, some of them you can probably modify them a little bit and they can become cards for a bunch of different holidays and things like that. So with that, let me go ahead and let me bring in all of the products that are, all of the components that I'll be using for our first card. Okay, so for my first card, this one is a fairly simple card, and this one is going to feature the Mother's Love stamp set. This is a photopolymer stamp set. Now, I can't tell you what year this one was from. It is an oldie because it's got the green strip on the top here. But I really love this set. It has this nice sketched images, and then you have the filler pieces that kind of give it like a watercolor look, and then you have this really cool like handwritten font for the greetings. So this is the one that we're using for this particular card. The other projects will be using like 2 different stamp sets on them, but for this one we're just going to be using this one. And like I said, this one is also a very easy one to complete. So to start off, I have a piece of Balmy blue. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 4.25. I have a piece of Starry Sky. This measures 4.5 by 3.25. And then I have a piece of basic white that measures 4 3/8 by 3 1/8. And then also, to show you the colors that I'll be using for this project. So I have my Balmy blue ink pad. Now, these typically they would store in this direction because the ink pad is in the lid. So that way all of the ink will stay to the surface of the ink pad. But since this ink pad is pretty inky, I store it this way, so then that way the ink most of the ink will stay down at the base of the ink pad. So I have Balmy blue, I have Starry Sky. This one is a new in color, Shy Shamrock, and I also have Basic Gray. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to fold, and I'm going to burnish my card base right in my bone folder. I'll fold that. And then on my piece of basic white, I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet. Since my cardstock's white and my grid paper is white, this will make it a little bit easier for me in seeing where to stamp my images. So I'm going to bring in this one big flower here, and this is more of like the outline, and I'm going to stamp that in basic gray. I'm going to ink this all up. And I'm going to stamp this more over to the right, like so. Just hold that down for a moment. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in the greeting that says, "Nobody loves like a mom." And I'm going to stamp that in Starry Sky. Now, Starry Sky was an in color that just recently retired. It's a really, really nice dark blue, and I'm going to use that here. So now I'm going to stamp this over to the right. Now I'm going to kind of fit this to where it's kind of going kind of like up against the flower, but it's not overlapping any of the leaves on that flower image, like so. Now, this stamped like really, really dark, but when it dries, it will lighten up just a little bit. Okay, then I'm going to bring in this stamp. Now, this stamp has the multiple images to kind of fill in these 2 flowers and these 3 leaves right here. Now for this, I don't need to really ink up this whole thing, so I'm going to kind of do this in bits. So I'm going to take my, let me do it this way. I'm going to bring in my chamois, because if I get extra ink on here, I want to be able to wipe off that excess. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to wipe off the ink that got on these leaves. Okay, we'll set that aside. And then I'm going to dry these parts off right here. And then I'll come in, move this down a little bit, and I'm going to line this up and just stamp over that area where I have the outline. Now it looks like this ink pad is still really inky, so that's a little bit darker than I want it to be. Okay, so I'm going to clean that off. And then now I want this part right here in my Balmy blue. And again, I'm going to come in and I'm going to clean off those two leaves that I don't want the blue ink on. Just kind of dry that. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to stamp over that spot right there. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with my Shy Shamrock. And again, this time I want just the leaf parts. So I'm going to ink this up. And again, this one's really inky too. This is, being that this is a new ink pad, I did remove some of the ink off of it, but yet I still got a lot of ink. That is the one thing with a new ink pad. There is plenty of ink that's on this, and honestly guys, this seems like it's just way too much. I mean, it's just really way too much. So let me bring in a spoon. Now this is one of the ways when you get a new ink pad, you can do one of many ways on not having so much ink on your stamps. Just, you can use the back of a spoon and just press that ink into the ink pad. And if it's still too much, you can take a paper towel and fold it up and just sop up some of the ink. There, like I said, there is plenty of ink in these ink pads. So that's why I will store them upside down. So let me clean this off and then dry it off. And let me take that down and let me go ahead and ink this up again. Still a lot of ink because you can see that it bubbles up a little bit on the stamp itself. I'm going to remove that ink off of those flower images and try and do this where I don't get all this ink all over my fingers. Okay, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to line this up to get all those leaves. Up right there. And you can see it's still too much ink. But I don't have any paper towels or anything like that in here, so we're just gonna leave that. It's not too bad. I just kind of clean these off really quick since I got this open. Okay, so we'll close this up. And then get this out of the way. And let's go ahead and assemble our card. Okay, so let's get this, we'll move this out of the way. Now I'm going to take this piece here and I'm going to bring in my seal. And I'm going to add some on the back of this piece. If I can get it to get on my edges. And I'm going to put that on my piece of Starry Sky. It'll just be a little border, like so. And then I'm going to add, on the back of here, I'm going to add some of my dimensionals. And put a couple in the middle so that way I've got green ink all over my fingers. I'm going to try and get some of that off because I don't want to transfer any of that ink onto my white cardstock. That would not be good. Okay, we'll remove these paper backings. And we get my little trash bin here. Put that over here. Okay, and then I'm bringing my card base and I'm going to center that like so. And then I'm going to bring in my Wink of Stella. And I'm going to go over just the flower petals. And I'm not going to do the leaves, I'm just going to do the flowers. Okay. And then for an embellishment, I am going to use the iridescent rhinestone basic jewels. Now these were an embellishment that just retired. I mean, this is one of my favorite ones, and it was definitely one that I stocked up on a few packages before they officially retired. And at the time when they retired, they didn't completely sell out, so it's a possibility that we just may see these come back in the clearance rack at some point when they go to do the refresh. So I'm going to take one of these larger ones and I'm going to place it right here at the base of the flower. Now, what's nice about these are translucent where you can see through them. So whatever you put these on top of, whether, it's like DSP or any area that you have stamped, it's going to take on the color that's underneath it. So that's really, really nice. So I'm just using one of each size on my card. So this one, again, very easy and simple. A nice, clean, and simple card. So there is our first card. On to our second. Okay, so for my second card, I'm going to feature both the Celebrating You stamp set, and I'm going to use this Happy Mother's Day greeting down here. And I'm also going to use the Softly Sophisticated stamp set. Now with this stamp set, it bundled with an embossing folder, and it was a celebration offering, so meaning the only way you were able to get this stamp set along with its cord, it was bundled with an embossing folder. I don't want to say that it coordinated with it, but it was bundled with it, and the only way that you were able to get it was during our celebration uh, promotion that we had going on in January and February of this year. So I'm going to be using these two images here from this stamp set. So to start off, I'm going to bring in my cardstock pieces. So for my card base, I have a piece of basic white thick that measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 4.25. I have a piece of lemon lolly cardstock. This measures 5.25 by 4, and then I have 2 scraps of basic white. Let me bring in what else I'll be using in this card. So I'm also going to bring in the Pretty Flowers embossing folder. This too has retired a while back, and this is just a regular embossing folder. This isn't one of our 3D. And I'm going to take my Lemon Lolly cardstock piece and I'm going to emboss that. Now I'm going to set this aside because all of my embossing and die cutting I will do at the same time. And then for these two pieces of white, I am going to bring in my Stylish Shapes dies. Now these dies are still available. They are in our new annual catalog. And for this one, I'm going to use both of these dies. Both of them, they're stitched. So they'll cut them out and they'll also leave a stitching mark on them. So for this one here, I'm going to set that aside because I will die cut that. And then on this piece, what I want to do first is I want to stamp my Happy Mother's Day greeting first before I die cut it, because this die just fits around that greeting. So for this card, the colors of ink that I'm going to use is Daffodil Delight, Lemon Lolly, Pear Pizzazz, and Smoky Slate. So I'm going to take my Smoky Slate and I'm going to stamp my greeting right in the middle of this piece of cardstock. I'm not worried so much about it being straight because I'll be putting that die over there, and so it'll be straight in the end. So I'll close this up. I'm done with that color, and then this will then go over here and I will die cut that. So I'll set that aside. Now let me take my card base and let me fold and burnish this. Now you may have noticed when I had these two pieces together, you'll see that this one's a little bit brighter and this one looks a little bit darker. This is actually the Whisper White that we did have a few years ago, or a couple of years ago. The mill that created our Whisper White cardstock had closed, and this was during the whole pandemic time. So when they closed, another mill were making our cardstock. So that's why they changed the name to Basic White, and you can see that the Basic White's just a little bit brighter than the Whisper White. So that I just wanted to mention that if that's something that you're able to see in the camera with the lighting, that there is a difference, and that's just why there is. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside, and this part I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, do my embossing and die cutting, and I will be right back. Okay, so let me bring in all of my pieces. So I'm going to take this embossed piece here. I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of this. Now for this card, the embossed side is just as pretty as the embossed side. So you can use either side. I'm just going to add some adhesive to this. Place this on my card base. Okay, and then on this piece, I'm going to do some stamping. So I am going to bring in these two pieces here for doing this flower. And I'm going to start off with my Pear Pizzazz. I'm going to do all this greenery first. I'm going to ink this up. And I'm going to stamp this right down here. Like so. I'm going to close this up. And then I'm going to bring in my Daffodil Delight. I'm going to ink up these flowers. So here's our little bud right here. And then we have this medium flower and this bigger one. So it'll line up right within these open areas and right here at the end of the bud. That looks like my Daffodil Delight is very inky as well. And let's kind of stamp this off and let me kind of press that ink in because that is just like really, really, really inky. Get the spoon and I'll just press that ink into the ink pad. Because what happens if your ink pad is way too inky when you go to stamp, now especially with photopolymer, what the ink will do is kind of bubble up on your stamp and you won't really get a nice clean crisp stamped image. So and this is especially if you have any of our stamp sets that are called distinctive because they have a lot of detail in them. If your ink pad is too inky, you won't get a nice detailed stamped image. So let me kind of get up on my tippy toes here so I can see where I'm placing this. Let's see. It looks about right. So we'll stamp that there. Okay, yeah, that looks really good. That doesn't look extremely dark. If it was really dark, then that just means that my stamp was inked with way too much ink. Okay, so we'll set that aside. Now, on this, what I want to do, I want to take my Lemon Lolly ink. So I want to add a little bit of some detail around the edge of this piece. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just hold my piece of cardstock and I'm just going to hold it straight down into the ink pad just for a little bit. And what it'll do is it'll add some of that ink right along the edge. So I just want a straight edge of the color along the outer part of this piece rather than using either a sponge dauber or a blending brush, which it'll then be all over in the front. So I'm just containing it a little bit to be on this edge right outside of that stitch line. I'm just holding it there for a little bit so it soaks up some of the ink, and there's what it looks like. Okay, so I'll set that aside. So all of our stamping and inking and all that is all done. So on here, what I want to do is I want to bring in, let's see, I want to bring in dimensionals for this. Add some on the back here. And we'll add one in the middle so we don't have a saggy middle. Okay. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to add this to my card base, and I'm going to place this right about here. Okay, and then on my greeting, I'm going to add 2 dimensionals over onto this right end here. And then I'm going to take my Stampin' Seal and I'm going to add some adhesive right here because this is going to be the part that will overhang on this piece here. So we need the dimensionals only on this end of this tag. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to add this right here and hopefully I can get it straight. Okay. We'll set that aside, and then I want to bring in my Wink of Stella. Now I'm going to add some on here like so, just on my flowers. We're really going to add some sparkle to this, because once I do this part, now if I don't know if you can see this in the camera, but there's like some sparkles on my grid paper here, and the reason why is I'm going to use this to do some spritzing on my card. So I'm going to bring in something like my bone folder, and I'm just going to wrap my Stella over my card. Let me see if it added anything. It doesn't look like it did. So I'm going to hit it just a little bit harder. And it looks like I did get some on there. It's very fine. Now, if there was more of the Stella on this brush, then I would have some bigger splatters of it. But there's kind of like a subtle amount on the whole card. I don't know if that comes through on the camera or not. But okay, so then I'm going to bring in my embellishments. And on here, I'm going to add a large one of my rhinestones right in the center of this flower. And then I'm going to take, let's see, a medium-sized one here. I'll place that right here in the middle of that flower. And then I'm going to take one of the smaller ones, and I'm going to add that. Well, if I pick it up first, I'm going to add that right up here. Now I'm not done embellishing this. I'm also going to bring in the sheer ribbon combo pack. This was another set of ribbons that had retired with our last annual catalog. So this ribbon comes in, this is Bubble Bath, this one's Azure Afternoon, and this one's Lemon Lolly. So I'm going to use, my Lemon Lolly one, and I'm going to create a little bow. I don't need anything too big. Just pulling this so my loops aren't so big. This is a nice thin sheer ribbon. I'm just trying to do this so my loops look straight and my tails are kind of straight as well. Okay, so that looks good. I'm going to bring in my paper snips, and I'm going to trim these tails a little bit, like so. And we'll set that aside. And then I'm going to bring in some glue dots. Now these glue dots on this sheet here, these come from a past paper pumpkin kit. We do sell a roll of glue dots about this size in our catalog. I have so many of these, so I'm going to use them. So I'm going to take 2 of these and I'm going to place them down here at the base of these leaves. Because this is a bigger bow, I do want to have a little bit more adhesive to hold down that ribbon. So I'll move that, and then I'll take my bow and I will add that right there. And there is our second card, a really nice, cheery, bright, fun yellow card. So on to our third card. Okay, so for my third and final card, I'm going to be using 2 different stamp sets on this one. So I'm going to use the Perennial Postage. Now this stamp set bundled with the postage dies, the Perennial Postage dies. Now the stamp set and the dies are named the same. So in this stamp set, there is a greeting that says Happy Mother's Day. Now, with this was a whole suite, part of a whole suite a big mega suite collection. So that particular suite had 2 bundles, 2 stamp set with coordinating dies. It had a pack of paper. It had some paper butterfly embellishments. It had little sparkle gems. It had, I think there may have been something else in it, but it was a big suite collection that actually everything in that suite carried over into our new catalog except for this stamp set. So I did get this one before it was gone for good. So I'll be using this happy Mother's Day stamp from this. And then I'll also be using this oldie, Floral Essence. There is a punch that I'll also be using. This one is called the Perennial Flower. This bundled with this stamp set, so I'll be using this punch. And then also for this leaf image, I'll be using the leaf punch. Now I won't be using the stamp itself. I'll just be not die cutting. I'll be punching, not die cutting, because this is a punch. I'll be punching out some of these leaves out of another retired item, some vellum. So let me put that aside, and I'll put this stamp set aside, and let me bring in all of my pieces. So this one has a little bit more to it than the other 2 cards. So I have a piece of Berry Burst. This measures 8.5 by 5.5 and scored F4 1/4. I have a piece of Blackberry Bliss cardstock. This measures 5 1/4 by 4. I have a piece of the Unbounded Beauty DSP. This is a new paper that is in our new annual catalog, and this features our Pretty in Pink, which is a returning color, but it's in our new set of 5 in color. So I'm going to use a piece of this, and this measures 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And then I have some scrap pieces. I have some of our vellum cardstock. This too had retired from our last annual catalog, so I'll be using that. I have a scrap piece of basic white, and then I also have a scrap piece of Pretty in Pink cardstock. So let me start off. Let me kind of move all this stuff out of the way. I'm going to fold and burnish my card base. And we'll set that aside for a moment. And then I'm going to take my Unbounded Beauty DSP piece, and I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of this. And I'm going to center that on my piece of Blackberry Bliss. Now this is just going to leave a small border, like so. I got that on there straight. I don't want to pull it up and then get it all wrinkly and messed up. Okay, so then I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of this piece. And I'm going to add that to my card base, like so. And now I'll set that aside. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, so on this piece of vellum, I am going to use my punch, and I'm going to punch out 3 of these leaves out of this. So I'm going to set this aside because I'm going to be doing all my die cutting, and I'll also do my punching at the same time. So I'm going to set that aside. And then on this piece of cardstock here, I'm going to bring in my Stylish Shapes dies again. This time I'm going to use this stitch circle, so I'm going to die cut that, so I'll set that aside. And then on this piece of cardstock, now this is just a scrap piece, I'm going to bring in my Pretty in Pink ink, and I'm going to bring in the stamp that coordinates with this punch here, and I am going to stamp this a total of 6 times on my cardstock. You need 2 of these to create 1 flower. And I'll stamp 2 more. Okay, so we have 6 of those. So I'm going to set that aside because I'm going to do that with all my punching and die cutting. Okay, we'll put that aside. Okay, so let me go ahead and let me bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, die cut that piece, and then also punch out all of these other pieces, and I'll be right back. Okay, so let me bring in all of my pieces here. So I'm going to take this stitched circle and I'm going to bring in my Blackberry Bliss ink, and I'm going to bring in my Happy Mother's Day greeting. I'm going to ink this up, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to stamp it like kind of like in the middle and off to the right side, like so. And we're done with all of our stamping for this card. So let me set that aside. Now on these flowers, I'm going to have 2 of them I'm going to put together to create my flowers. And to do this, I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue right here in the middle. I'm not going to use a lot. And then I'm just going to overlap this to create my flower. Just hold that for a moment so they stick together. Okay, I'll set that aside and do my next ones. And a little bit of glue. And add this one to the middle. Like so. Whoops, it shifted a little bit. Okay, and then on my third one, a little bit of glue. And add this one right there. Hold that for a moment. I'll close my glue. Try to do it with one hand. Once it gets a little fussy, it's not going to work. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put on the back of these flowers a dimensional. Add one to the center of each of them. Now the other thing I want to do with these flowers to give them a little bit of dimension, I'm just going to pull up on these petals a little bit. just to kind of give that flower a little bit of dimension. I'll do that on all three of these. And then let's do our last one. Okay, so then we'll set those aside. Now I'm going to bring in my card base, and I'm going to take my stitch circle that I stamped my greeting on, add some adhesive to that, and I'm going to place this in the center of my card like so. Bring this down just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to take these flowers and I'm going to add them off to, I'm going to kind of go around this circle, like on the left side, and then up here at the top, kind of overlapping them just a little bit and getting them where it's not poking up off of the top of the card, because we do want to be able to get this in an envelope. Okay, and then our last one, we'll add that one right down here, kind of tuck that in like so, and then press those down. And then for these leaves, I'm going to bring in those glue dots again. Get them out of here. Okay, I got some smaller ones. So on here, I'm going to just remove these paper backings, leaving that glue dot on there, and I'm going to just place the stem of this vellum leaf right into that glue dot, pick it up, and I'm just going to tuck it right underneath like so. And let's get our second one. I want to make sure that I leave the glue dot on this acetate sheet. So at the time that I am recording this, I'm actually doing this on Mother's Day. So it's Sunday, May 12th. And we had, well, not just here, but it was in a lot of different places, the Northern Lights. And I guess with the geostorm, the power of it or whatever, that these northern lights were able to be seen as far down, I think, like Alabama and Florida. And so where I live, unfortunately, it's not like it's pitch black out there. There is, lights from, from the city and everything. So you kind of got like that, too much light. It's not really dark enough. So on Friday, I had gone out there and tried to take photos. Now, we weren't able to see it by eye, and honestly, I don't know, like those areas that are further up north that experience these more often. I guess, do you guys like see these things very easily, with your naked eye? Or from what I was told, the way that we were able to see it is if we took our cameras, set them on night mode, and then pointed it to the north around the horizon, that's how you would get pictures of all of those colors. Well, here, and it was kind of hard to know exactly what time to go out there, so I tried going out there a few times. Now, we did have a few lights from, other buildings in this apartment complex, but it was mostly dark, so I took pictures and I did get a little bit of color, but nothing nothing that was close to being as bright and really colorful as what I've seen other people have pictures that they took that were in areas near me, but their areas were much darker. So they said that we were having them again last night, so on Saturday night. So, we did it again. We went out and we went even where it was darker, but they said that it wasn't going to be quite as strong the second night. So the second night I tried different times, really late at night and all that, and I just really wasn't able to pick up anything. I think I got more from Friday night, and that really wasn't a whole lot. But my daughter, she lives in Oregon, and she took some really, really amazing pictures. Her pictures had like a nice, really bright, dark pink and purples and all that. So I was kind of bummed that we couldn't get, anything that strong because that would have been amazing to see. But, we'll see what happens. Maybe this will happen again at some point, while I'm still alive, and maybe I'll have a better chance of seeing, these colors, because the pictures I saw were absolutely beautiful. Now, some people were posting that you'd be able to see it again tonight on Sunday, but I'm thinking, if I wasn't able to really see much of them last night, that I don't think I would be seeing anything tonight. So, and plus we got a lot more clouds out there, so I'm not going to go out there, try taking pictures again, because I probably won't get anything. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my Wink of Stella, and I'm just going to do some quick brushing of some Wink of Stella on these petals. I'm not looking for anything perfect. I'm just getting some sparkle on these, and even on the centers. But yeah, I saw some pretty amazing pictures that people took. And like I said, there's some people that don't live far from me that took pictures, but clearly where they live, they don't have that light pollution from the city, so their skies are really dark, so they were able to get some pretty amazing pictures. Like I said, I was hoping that I'd be able to, but what I saw was it was just very faint. It wasn't really, intense color. I was a little bit bummed about that, but okay, so we done that. Where's my cap? My cap somewhere. Oh, there it is. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in these rhinestones, and I'm going to take these larger ones. I'm going to add one to the center of each of these flowers. Okay. And there's our last one. Okay, let's get all this stuff out of the way. So there is our third card. And let me bring in the other two that we made today. So here was our blue one, a very clean and simple card, no die cutting, just stamping. And then here's our second one where we have it stepped up with some embossing, and we added like some ribbon, and of course we have to have sparkle on it because if you make a Mother's Day card, you got to have some bling on it. So we have that one, nice and springy looking. And then here is our third card using some purples and pinks, and that came out really, really pretty and sparkly. So there are our three projects for my special Mother's Day video. So if you like these projects, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. It does help me in not only growing my channel, but it also helps me in building my Stampin' Up! Business. Again, like I mentioned earlier in the video, we do have a new annual catalog that just went live on May 1st. If you are not working with another demonstrator and you would like a paper copy of the catalog, in the description of this video, there is my email address. Simply send me an email with your complete name and full mailing address, and I'll be sure to get one out to you. So again, like I mentioned, this coming Friday for my Friday Night Live, it will be my 100th video, and I have something special planned for that. I just don't know exactly what it is, but I would love for you to come join me when I do that live on Friday, May 17th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So until then, everyone, can't talk. A happy Mother's Day to all you mommies out there, even those of you who your children are your cats or dogs, your little fur babies. So happy Mother's Day, everyone, and have a blessed one. Bye-bye.